It's my birthday today. That has nothing to do with this recipe, but I will have a special birthday request at the end of the video. One of my followers requested a disability-friendly version of Lungi's viral toast and jam cookies. It is a very special artisan cookie, and let's make it a little bit more disability-friendly. Baking cookies from scratch will always be a lot of work, but I can definitely make it safer, and this is such a special cookie that is definitely worth the effort on your high spoons days. I'm going to start with a disability-friendly method for browning butter. I just take a cold stick of butter fresh out of the fridge, put it in a baking pan, and then loosely cover it with foil. You don't want to crimp it all the way around because you need that steam to escape for the butter to brown. While that browns and cools, I proceed with the rest of the steps for the cookie dough. I add baking powder and baking soda to my flour and give that a good whisk. Then I set that aside and start working on the wet ingredients. Cracking eggs into a small bowl is always best practice, especially for beginners because it makes it easier to remove shells. If anybody has any disability-friendly egg cracking advice, I'd love to hear it, especially since that little device I tried out in the carrot cake video was a fail. Cradling your mixing bowl with a wet dish towel is an incredible hack for keeping the bowl stable without having to hold it. I add my eggs to my mixing bowl and then I give them a good whisk. Then I add in my vanilla extract and some soy sauce. I made that swap just so that it's easier to find in every common grocery store. I add in my white sugar and my brown sugar. And I mix the liquids before adding the sugar because the sugar adds a bit of drag, so it saves a little bit of effort. I reserve a 1/3 cup of the brown butter, and in the residuals I put my breadcrumbs, sourdough if you can find it. I stir that up and then I pop it back in the air fryer just for 2 to 3 minutes. I add that reserved brown butter right into the cookie dough, give that a stir. And once that's well combined, I go ahead and grab my dry ingredients that I put aside earlier and just dump those right in. And if you have a stand mixer, you can absolutely use that to make this a little bit easier, but I wanted to show that it can still be done even if you're doing it by hand. And the choice that I made with the butter is for the purpose of making it easier to stir by hand. To my toasted breadcrumbs, I'm adding some seedless raspberry jam. I do not like seeds in my jam, but you can use whatever type of jam you like. If you want like some orange marmalade, some strawberry jelly, grape, whatever you like, you can use it. I pour half of it inside the cookie dough and then the other half I save for topping. I also add in my white chocolate chips and then I give that a mix until it's all evenly distributed. Once I've got that mixed in, I top the dough with some more raspberry jam. I do not stir it, just spread it out, and then I top that with the remaining breadcrumbs. Just don't mix it in. I made that mistake on my first go around. It is a mistake, just let it sit on top. I scoop up my cookies with a cookie scoop, and I always keep a zip tie on my cookie scoop, and I will give 1,000 expedition points to anybody who can guess why I always keep a zip tie on my cookie scoop. But you absolutely can just use a spoon to scoop the cookies. I just like to use a cookie scoop because it helps me keep them even. You also don't need these cute little parchment paper circles, but I already had them and it does make it easier for when I want to freeze the leftover cookie dough. You're also not going to add the little piece of white chocolate to the tops until after they're baked or else they'll turn brown. And for them to look like a pat of butter, you want them to stay white. But it's just so darn cute. The ones that I'm not going to bake immediately, I go ahead and put them in the freezer bag after they've had time to sit in the fridge. And of course, one of my kids just decides to turn on my overhead lighting like I'm not in the middle of filming a video. After a trip to the air fryer, they are gorgeous. And now for that birthday request I mentioned earlier in the video. You guys know that I do not ask for money, so the only thing I'm asking for my birthday is for you guys to watch my long form content. I put it all in a playlist, so just click on the long form content playlist and just let it play. Put it on your kid's iPad. I do need long form hours. It would help me out so much. So that's all I ask. Just watch my long form content. That's it. People always ask me what makes my disability friendly content disability friendly, and there is a set of rules, but for this particular dish, I did write down every single modification that I did to the original recipe to make it a little bit more disability friendly. And I just want to remind everyone that I consider the needs of both intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities. I do have a son with intellectual disabilities, so I always take a moment to think what would make it easier for him, what would make it safer for him, what would make it easier for him to follow. And I'm sure you can hear him laughing in the background. So number one, I converted the measurements that were originally by weight into easier to follow measurements by volume. It's easier to just use a measuring cup and do a cup of this, a cup of that, instead of like bringing out your scale and like doing the grams. Also in the same vein, I converted it from metric system to the US imperial. So I made them into freedom units, as we call them. Number three, I also converted Celsius to Fahrenheit so you don't have to. Number four, I made the recipe a little bit safer by using the air fryer fryer as opposed to the oven, because the oven stays hot for a lot longer. So someone with intellectual disabilities or maybe tremors can wait for the air fryer to cool down before they reach in and handle. But the oven will stay so hot for so long that if you let it cool down in the oven, it will end up being overcooked. Number 5, and this is a big one, browning butter usually requires you to stand over the stove and stir while the butter browns, but I misspoke here a little bit. Number 5 is supposed to be how it's safer because you're not using the stove, direct heat, and fire. Number 6 is supposed to be how it's easier because you're not standing over it and stirring it and you're just setting it and forgetting
Number 7, I made the recipe safer by not requiring you to grind toast in the food processor. And a lot of people ask, why don't we use food processors in this series? Well, like I mentioned before, it's for people with intellectual disabilities as well as physical disabilities. And food processors have very sharp blades, which is fine when used, in the food processor, but you also have to wash it. People forget about that step. You will have to wash those sharp blades, and that's not something that I want to require of people with intellectual disabilities or also people with physical disabilities that cause tremor or loss of motor control. So I think it's safer if we can just find ways to work around it. Number 8, the original recipe calls for 3 different types of butter, and I eliminated the 3 different types of butter for simplicity, and we just used 1 type of butter. Number 9, the original recipe requires you to separate egg whites from the egg yolks. I skipped that step. Number 10, I replaced the white miso paste in the original recipe with soy sauce because it's more accessible, more easy to find in the store. Number 11, I used only butter in its liquid form because the original recipe called for cold butter, which does matter texturally, but I decided to not do that so that people who don't have a stand mixer can still make the recipe and not have to exert themselves trying to incorporate really cold butter, which can be physically exerting and require a lot of force that I know some people can't do. Last but not least, I also rewrote the recipe so that it could be beginner friendly. I used simple terms. I used terms that people who aren't very familiar with baking could understand. And just so that more people could enjoy this amazing cookie, I wanted to make it as easy to understand as possible. I wanted to give a special shout out to Lungi Is Always Baking. She is a beautiful Black woman from the UK. This recipe took the UK by storm. It was on the covers of magazines. She was brought on television, and I understand why. And once you taste it, you'll understand why too. Thank you, Lungi. Thank you for allowing me to redo your recipe. I know our recipes are our baby, so I really appreciate your contribution to the disability friendly community. Bye.